All right, good morning. So today we are going through P16 of half term 9, I think it was. We'll have a quick scan through what we've got so far. We've talked about the terminology on here. I'm not going to go through that just yet. We've said that we have an analog sound, which measures amplitude as it changes over time. If we convert it to digital, then we need to sample it at a precise moment in time, and the difference in time between two samples we call the sample interval. And then we want to move on to these expressions here to calculate the size of a file. So let's look. We have to work out the size of a file of a recording of 3 minutes long. So let's see. 3 minutes looks like the length. I'm going to make that blue. 3 minutes is 3 times 60. You'd get a mark if you just worked that out in your head, or if you put the expression to calculate it. There we are. We need to multiply that by the sample rate, which is 44 kilohertz. There's nothing important about the colours here. Please don't try and remember the colours. I just sometimes think it's helpful to be able to see where these numbers come from. There we go. We're going to multiply them together. If the sample rate is higher, the file size is going to be bigger, so that's why it's at the top of the expression for file size. If the length is bigger, the file size is going to be bigger, so that's why it is at the top of the expression. This time it's more professional studio quality, so it's 24 bits per sample. So between, 2 to the power 24 for the total number. So that was green, I think we used here. Sorry, 24 bits I put in green. That will give us an expression for the total size in bits. So I need all of that to be divided by, we want megabytes. So if we're going to have an expression to do with file sizes, we'll have kicked my granny to pieces. We want to do powers of 1024, but how many of them? Well, it's not kibby, it's mebi. So we've got to do 1024 raised to the power 2. So Control-Shift equals in Word to get that here. But that's not the extent of it, because... Oh, there we go. I didn't even swear. There we go. Well done. Hooray. We've also need to divide by 8, because these are bits per sample, and we want the answer in megabytes. Good. All right, let's do one more. The sample rate of a file is 10 kilohertz. So let's just go through in the same order that we've got. Sample rate is 10 kilohertz. Then we've got the length. The length is, this is nice. We've got to rearrange it. So let's put the whole thing in. The size of the file is 3. But let's do the size of the file in bits, shall we? So 3 times 1024 squared times 8. That's the total number of bits. All of that is equal to the sample rate times the length. We'll do some rearranging later, but let's keep it in the format that we've remembered. Times bit depth. Well, we've got 16 bits here. So that's all we need. Let's color code it. We've got red for size of file. That's 3 megabytes. I'm representing that, in bits. Then we've got 10 kilohertz. Sample rate, I'm going to keep the same colors we've used for all of the questions. There it is. That means 10,000 samples per second. The length, we don't know yet. I'm going to put that in that cyany bluey thing. And then let's go green here for this one. 16 bits per sample. All right, then we just do some maths. And we say that we want all of this. I'm going to divide both sides by that. Or am I? I want length by itself, don't I? So let's go backwards. Let's just divide both sides by 10,000 and 16. That would make sense. So I can take 10,000 off this side by dividing by 10,000. If I divide the right-hand side by 10,000, I also need to divide the left-hand side by 10,000. Oh, I've lost my colour. Oh, I copied it, didn't I? So can I paste it in there? Hooray! If I want to get rid of this 16, I need to divide by 16. I can't just magically divide one side by 16 and keep the equal sign. I also need to divide by 16 on this side. I know I've put a times here, but that's because I'm dividing here. So the length is that. Nice. All right, so you've probably got the idea now. Hopefully you've gone through it. All right, let's have a look and see if we agree with this one. It says, construct an expression to calculate the file size in megabytes. So I'm going to use the same colors that I used before, of CD quality stereo soundtrack that is 2.5 minutes long. Now, I don't know if the specification requires you to remember what this actually means. I think the exam question would tell you, but it's worth knowing what it means. So CD quality is 44.1 kilohertz. I can't remember what color I used. Doesn't really matter. Let's go purple. At 16 bits per sample. So that's what we mean by CD quality. Stereo soundtrack. We haven't had any in stereo yet, so let's make that... Oh, I'm running out of colors. Yellow. Sorry, everybody. That is 2.5 minutes long. What one haven't I used yet? I don't think I've used purple, green, blue. Haven't used the blue, have I? There we go. Right. So 150, that's presumably 2.5 minutes. So 60 times 2.5 is 150. Yeah, I agree with that. Multiplied by 2, because we've got two channels, one for your left ear and one for your right ear. So that's going to go in this really unreadable yellow. Sorry about that. I'll just highlight it like that to make it clearer. Sorry. Let's go black, but highlighted. 16 bits per sample. Let's make that green. Yep, it goes at the top of the expression because if you have higher number of bits, it's a higher file size. And the sample rate is 44.1 kilohertz, 44,100. Good. We need to divide by 8 to get into bits. We need to multiply the 8 before we divide by 1,024 and another 1,024 because we want the answer in megabytes. I think that is spot on. Well done. Oops. So do have a go at the rest of the questions and save and upload to half term 9. It's not algorithms and programming, it's data 3, this one here. All the best.